Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm not saying this is an Innova Alien review. However, this is a review of the Innova Alien disc. As some of you probably know, I've been waiting to review this disc for months. Ever since I first saw this disc show up on the PDGA disc specifications website, I've been interested in its shape. And once I started seeing the promotional videos for it, I was like, you know what, I want to get my hands on it for sure and try it out. And then of course I ordered it on day one when these became available, and I've been trying this out ever since. I've bagged it since day one. Essentially it's been in my cart the whole time, and I've done a number of throws with it on and off camera since I've had it. So I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm dealing with here at this point. But what I'm going to do in this video is show you this disc in action. So we're going to start out here in my side yard, where I'm going to throw from about 100 feet to this basket using backhand and forehand, using hyzer, anhyzer, and flat release angles. And then after that I'm going to head to a disc golf course and do some more throws at greater distances with this. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, that's all fine and dandy. Now let's go to a disc golf course and try this at greater distances. Okay, for the second half of this video, we've arrived at Cypresswood Disc Golf Course, and I'm going to try upshots slash approaches at some of these different baskets from different positions, somewhere between the 100 and 200 foot range. And I brought my trusty Sony Handycam here for some of the footage because it has a more narrow field of view and it should show a little bit better some of the details. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I've made my first selection. I'm approximately 125 feet away from the basket per bush now. Let's go ahead and throw some upshots. That had a lot of glide that went behind the basket. And one thing I'll do is let you know as I'm practicing these upshots, my opinion of the disc and how it's been flying. So this actually, in my opinion, because of this dome, is more glidey, at least in the beginning, the early part of the flight. And so it actually travels farther than a typical approach disc that I might use. Like in my case, it might be an AVR 3, or maybe some sort of Invader or something else like that. Something along those lines, a relatively straight approach disc. This tends to get up and go a little bit more, which is why that one went so long. So it's definitely 4-speed. It's faster than your typical approach disc. That's just so easy. I went long of the basket. So it's one of those things where if you're used to throwing approach discs, you need to adjust to this being a little bit easier. So the advantage is you can actually get a little bit farther with this than your typical approach disc in case you're having trouble reaching a certain distance. That said, for all the glide that it has, and I do believe now after extensive testing it has more than a 2 glide, it does sit down pretty well once it starts fading. So not necessarily overstable, but it does more often helicopter down a little bit or fade decently. Give one last try at a decent, I put less power on that. Look how easy that was. That was much better. And you know what, while we're here, let's go ahead and try some sidearms. A few sidearm throws, just see if I can dial anything in. warning. Novice thrower. I like that. Heck yeah. It's more torque resistant than a typical approach disc because of the thickness of that rim. So that does help it a little bit for soft touch upshots. Yeah, this was a good 20 feet past the basket. So again, it's pretty fast for an approach disc. That's much better. See, I'm dialing it in. That's just outside the bullseye, I think. We've now arrived at the next hole, and I've now put us back to 150 feet. Very slight elevation drop, probably about 3 feet, 2 feet between here and there. So it's almost inconsequential, but there's a slight elevation drop. So with that said, we're gonna try another set of throws with the Alien. Let's see how close I can get. Ooh, that was actually a great line, but I hit a tree. So this may have not been the best position, but we'll see how it plays out. Okay, so now that I know hyzer's out of the play, I'm gonna have to try to do straighter shots towards the basket. That was maybe a touch of anhyzer, but a perfect approach. Okay, let's do one more throw. This time, some slight anhyzer. Okay, not the best of lines, but you can kind of see that it has a little bit of fade to it, so it kind of came out just a little bit. Okay, now let's try some forehands and just to see how that goes at 150 feet. Pretty good for me. All right, let's see if I can get a little closer. Ha ha ha, nice. Okay, now we've arrived at an elevated basket that's 175 feet away from here. It's a straight plane here, but the basket is raised on a mound. I'm just trying to get within putting distance with the Alien. Yes. Okay, now let's try some hyzer. Not bad. So I'm a recreational level backhand player. I'm probably a novice level side hand player. So I'm going to try a forehand. 175 may be about as far as I can throw. I don't really know. Yeah, that's not too bad though. Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully I can get a little closer. There we go. That's a little bit better. For me, that's a fantastic throw with the forehand. We've now arrived at the final boss battle. 200 foot to the basket. I've got a tree over here and a tree over there to miss. So yeah, let's see how it goes. 200 feet, y'all. Too much ante on it, but I'm pin high. Fortunately, this disc was only 20 feet away, but to the right. Let's see if I can do a little bit better of a throw here. Hit right in front of the basket. It's bullseye. Hey, do you want to hear a joke? That's what it sounds like. All right, let's see if I can get one good sidearm. It's about as far as I can throw a putter, y'all. That's maybe about 20 short. All right, so last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get some rips with this disc. Can't really do approaches at my level beyond 200 feet with this, but 200 feet and in for my level, that's what I would use this disc for. So all I'm gonna do is give some backhand rips, just see what it looks like with the full flight. I actually already know because I've thrown it a lot, but this will be the first time you guys see what it looks like when I do it. That's a great rip for me. And as you might be able to tell, I'm working on some form still. Okay, for me, that was actually a bit of an insane rip. I'll put the distances down of the discs, how far they are. A little bit too much. That's a perfect shot for this hole, but not exactly what I was trying to do. Man, I must be going for some record here. Okay, some quick thoughts before returning to my house for the summary. This is definitely a backhand friendly disc. I do think for the sidearm, this increased dome may present a problem for some people because it's not flat, where something like this is pretty flat, there's no dome. So when you get a form on it, it's pretty dead on for your typical approach disc. For this here, I think it's more backhand friendly. I do note, because of the excessive curvature right here, the dome part is more aggressive here, then it flattens out here towards the top of the flight plate. When you put your fingers on here to throw like a sidearm, it actually lowers this a little bit because the slant here is the same, but because it's a dome, it comes down. So you'll actually throw with slightly more hyzer for the same throw that you might throw something like a pig or a harp or some flatter type of approach disc. However, that slightly increased hyzer may provide you with a little more stability for what you might expect out of a disc like this compared to a disc like this. Okay, now that the sun is setting, I'm going to return to the house, and I've been writing extensive notes on this for the last month. I'll go ahead and summarize everything next. Now that we're back at the home office, I'm going to summarize my thoughts. The Alien is a backhand-friendly approach disc that should let the average person get a little more distance with it than a typical putter. I don't think it's forehand-friendly due to the dome on the flight plate, but it is serviceable for short-range flicks. It's less aerodynamic than your typical mid-range, but more torque resistant than most approach discs. That's why they call it a multi-purpose disc, and kind of do both, and it kind of fits within those two roles. It doesn't resist turn as much as many of the overstable putters or mids, but it will fly straight and it won't really fade hard at the end of its flight. It appears to have more glide up front as well when you throw it, but as it slows down, the glide definitely does get reduced quite a bit, like it's noticeable. I personally bag it and I have a lot of fun throwing it, but it's more of a niche use case for me since I already have a bevy of approach discs and mid-ranges in my cart. Well, that is going to do it for this comprehensive rec level review of the Innova Alien in Star Plastic. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, as I have more fun disc golf content on the way. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.